Facts Verse presents Man Goes Down to House Basement and Finds a Mysterious Creature. Minutes later, he realizes what it is. Before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Paul Russell. Paul Russell is a man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's 82 years old and has a relative with Alzheimer's. Due to his relative's age and condition, he was no longer able to care for himself. This meant he had to pack everything up and move to a nursing home. When he had to leave home, he also had to leave his Siamese pet cat, SIAM. Fortunately, Paul was willing to take care of the cat. Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a very serious and degenerative condition. His condition started out very mild, but by the time he had to move, the man could barely recognize his own relatives. This is what happens when a person has Alzheimer's. It's a terrifying disease, not only for the person who has it, but also for their family. There's nothing worse than when a loved one no longer recognizes you. Leaving his home was a tough decision for the man, but it was no longer safe for him to remain in his home. Feeding Siam. Paul wanted to take good care of Siam. He went into the house so he could feed Siam and pet him for a bit. He made sure Siam was safe in the house and that he had plenty of food. When Paul was at the home, he saw something zoom across the room in front of him. It came out from under a bed and ran into the basement. His relative had already told him that there was a second cat in the house. Paul wanted to catch the second cat, but it was getting late. Paul decided he would return the next day with extra food for the second cat. Paul hoped he would be able to catch the cat when he returned. A second try. As planned, Paul returned to the house the next day. He immediately went looking for the cat. He remembered the day before that the cat appeared to be wrapped up in a blanket. Paul went back down to the basement to try to find the cat. When he finally saw the cat, he really didn't know what he was seeing. It almost looked like the cat was wearing a tortoise shell, which was very strange. When he looked closer, he realized it was a cat. Its fur was so matted that the cat couldn't move around freely. It was a calico cat and it was terrified. The matted fur was over 8 inches long. What made it even worse was that in the matted fur was poop. The cat appeared to be terrified. Catching the cat. The cat seemed to be very scared, and it was hiding under the beds and in corners. Paul's wife, Jill, was with him at the house that day. They started to call the cat Heidi because of her behavior. Paul and Jill always loved animals, so they decided to catch both Siam and Heidi and take them to the vet for a checkup. Based on Heidi's condition, they knew it would be the best thing for both the cats. Animal Rescue League and Wildlife Shelter. When Paul was able to help Heidi feel comfortable with him, he gained her trust. They took the cats to the Animal Rescue League and Wildlife Shelter. The vets examined the cats. They determined that Siam was 17 years old and Heidi was 14. They were very concerned about Heidi's condition. They were so appalled by the level of neglect when it came to Heidi. They weren't sure what to do to help her, so they tried to find other cases like hers. Unfortunately, there were no extreme cases like her documented. They knew that they had to remove the fur because it was hurting her. They had to find a way to remove the fur without harming her, so they had to get creative. A long process. The first thing the vet did was put Heidi under general anesthesia. They needed her to be calm during the process, and it would be painful had she been awake. It took hours for them to remove all the matted fur. When they were done, the vets were shocked to find out that underneath all that fur, Heidi weighed only 2 pounds. The vet was very confused by the two cats. Heidi seemed to be very neglected and unkempt, and Siam was in pretty good condition. Weight gain. Cats always groom themselves, and they take very good care of themselves. This becomes a problem when a cat gains too much weight and is unable to maneuver properly, and it can get difficult for them to groom themselves. This is what happened with Heidi. Because the fur was getting matted, she couldn't shed. This meant that the shedding hair would just add to the matting. Another problem was that Heidi was a long-haired cat. Long-haired cats need to be brushed regularly. Since Paul's relative had Alzheimer's, it wasn't too surprising that Heidi wasn't regularly brushed. Rescuing the cat. Paul and Jill decided that if they were really going to rescue the cats, they would need to take them home. The couple already had 3 cats and 2 dogs at home, so Siam and Heidi would have other animals to play with. Siam got used to the house very quickly. It took Heidi a bit longer. She was still getting used to living without her matted fur and was relearning to trust humans. Soon, Heidi started getting close to her new owners. Fortunately, this story had a happy ending. This man goes down to house basement and finds a mysterious creature. Minutes later, he realizes what it is. Fortunately, Heidi got the help she needed before it was too late. Which part of the story was most surprising to you? Let us know in the comments. And be sure to subscribe to Facts Verse for more great videos.